Hello, this is Anthony. Let's walk and talk. So today we're going to talk about narratives. And when we talk about narratives, we're going to talk specifically about certain narratives. Okay, and the narratives that we're going to talk about is the narrative that the majority of people carry in their lives unknowingly. What do I mean by that? Well, you see, what I think most people don't understand is most people carry a narrative through ego. That narrative through ego states something similar to this. Life is bad. Many bad things happen in life. And in all of those bad things, I have to struggle and fight for a little good, or for good things in my life. And the reason that I find that narrative interesting is because it is very much a victim narrative. And what do I mean by that? I mean, you're essentially saying that I accept everything that life offers me, and I'm going to look at it through the lens of a negativity, meaning I'm going to look at all of the negative outcomes that each event that I perceive through my lens is not in my favor. You see, and there's a huge problem with that narrative. And here's what that problem is. That problem is that your ego, your safety mechanism, let's call it, is designed to look for threat. It looks for threat in everything. It looks for threat in every interaction and aspect of life, with people, with instances, events, and things. And when you start looking at life from that perspective, what occurs is that you don't put yourself in a situation where you can best understand why things happen. You see, your mind is what creates these perceptions. And so you have to ask yourself a very important question. If your ego runs the show, then you're constantly looking for threat. And you're constantly focusing on all the quote-unquote bad things that happen. On top of looking at all the quote-unquote bad things that happen, you are doing a threat assessment in order to try to figure out what's my best way to get around this. Well, then your whole life is going to be led to, I'm going to work hard to have those few happy times. You see, when you live in that illusion, then life is always a negative, and you're searching for some positives to fill in, to make it worth living. Versus understanding that you have the power to shift that perspective. Well, let's see about going over here where maybe we can get a little bit quieter, because I think this aspect is going to be important to understand. You see, you have the ability to shift perspective so that going from viewing everything in the world as potential negatives and how you can overcome it, viewing all the actions in the world as positive and what they're meant to teach you. And that out of those instances that you could potentially view as a negative might be a lesson for you in there. Might be a lesson to help for you to shift self, shift perspective, shift awareness. Now, why is this important, you say? I'll tell you exactly why it's important. Because when you begin to understand that, you begin to understand that by shifting your perspective from that of ego, from that of everything is dangerous, from that of I'm looking for the good things to offset all the bad things. When you shift your perspective, you begin to see the world in a very much more brilliant manner. Your brain begins, from a psychological perspective, to see all of the magical, amazing things happening around you. Excuse me. As you begin to shift your perspective, instead of your brain looking for the things that agree with you that bad things happen or there are bad things going on in the world, your brain starts to shift to find the good things around you, the good things in the world. And when you make that shift, you start to understand then that instead of living in a difficult world that's negative for you, looking for those happy times, you shift to everything in my life is happy, and occasionally I am presented with some challenging times. And when you get to that point, you understand that those challenging times are there to teach you a lesson. You see, the challenging times aren't just there to teach you a lesson in the difficult times. There are lessons in the good times as well. But see, when you are always focused on everything's a good time, it's easier to accept the lessons in the good times and embody those lessons in the good times, because your brain accepts that that is what's around you. That is what life is. That is what there is to be offered. I understand the perspective that most people go through. It's a perspective that the former version of me also existed in. It's that perspective that in the States, you work hard. Also, you can have that 2-week, 3-week, 4-week vacation. And then in that vacation's when you are allowing yourself to have the freedom to be yourself. You're allowing yourself the freedom to experience abundance. You're allowing yourself the freedom to have happiness and growth. Yet the issue with that is that you get into that quote unquote vacation and that doesn't magically happen. You see, there are challenges. When you travel, there are challenges that you're unfamiliar with because you're always working. And when you experience those challenges, and those challenges become a quote unquote blight on your experience, rather than looking at something and going, oh man, I learned a lot on this experience. You look at it and go, oh, this is ruining my vacation. This is ruining my time off. You see, a simple shift in perspective, and I say simple, sometimes a shift in perspective isn't as simple as it may seem. But understanding that a shift in perspective can change your life. A shift in perspective can change everything and all that you experience and see around you. A shift in perspective changes the way you look at your work. It changes the way you look at your life, your family, your friends. And most certainly it changes the way you look at all of the events that occur around you. And by understanding that you have the power, you have the ability to control your experience, you shift quickly out of a victim mode into an empowered mode. You shift out of a needing for someone to tell you what to do to having that sovereignty to know what you need to do. It doesn't create a constant negative flow. It creates a balance in the flow. And in that balance in the flow, where you can actually balance out logic and emotion, it expands your consciousness to be able to see things in a more clear manner, to be able to see the experiences around you that the universe is trying to present to you, to help you, to guide you to where you're ultimately meant to go, to help you to see what you're meant to see, to learn the things you're meant to learn, so that you can open up and expand even more to what there is to experience on this plane. See, when you start to open up to these things, you start to see things in a much different manner. You start to understand consciousness in a different manner, which means you start to understand self in a different manner. And when you begin to understand these, certain things become irrefutable, meaning you are eternal and you are here for an experience. And the more things that you came here to learn that you refuse to unlearn, the things that you refuse to understand, well, from some philosophies and religions, you'll have to experience those things again. You see, there's something I've always understood from a depth, which is that which you resist will persist. By shifting and understanding that, you understand that acceptance is what allows you to understand the now better, to understand the self better, to understand and change every moment of your life to be something magical and amazing. But what say you? Do you understand that? Do you see that? Do you feel that? You see, I can talk to you about the logic and the psychology around it. I can talk to you about the science around it all day, but at the end of the day, unless you truly see it, unless you truly feel it, and unless you truly desire to embody it, nothing does change. And in this life that we are in, change, it's a certainty. As always, if you enjoy this content, please like, share, and subscribe. I am truly grateful. And until I talk to you again, peace, love, light. Hope you have the most amazing day.